full slate of games in the Canadian Football League. And Jim Barker's with us from the CFL on TSN. So let's turn things around, Jim, and let's have a better day. How are you?
Doing well. It's the start of Labor Day weekend. I got these planes flying out here for the air show this weekend in Toronto, so it's all is okay here. It's a sad day, but like I say, try to make the best of it.
Absolutely, we will. Look, we saw you down in the field at the Thursday game in Toronto, the CNE game, which I agree. I think it was Naylor who said it, but I can't remember who said it, but it should be a staple. Saskatchewan in Toronto, every weekend that the CNE is on every year. That was awesome. So where are you going to be this weekend? What's the assignment for you?
My assignment is this is my last weekend off for the season, and it's so they're all in Victoria, the fabulous four, Davis and Milton and Matt, and they're doing Then they've got they'll fly back and do the rest of the game. So they're doing all the Labor Day games. It's my last weekend off. I'm going to enjoy it and enjoy watching these games because these games are going to be fantastic.
They're going to be great. I can't wait. Really looking forward to it. So let's start out there with Touchdown Pacific. How exciting is that? And to me, this is one of the interesting games for me that was really tough to pick because I really like what Ottawa has done. But I also see Matthew Betts coming back. I see Nathan Rourke maybe taking another step forward. What are you looking for out in Victoria?
Well, I don't even think Matthew Betts is in Vancouver yet, so he's on his way, but he's going to play. So he's been in the system. He knows the system. He knows the league. That shouldn't be too tough. But again, that's a little strange to not have played with the guys that you're playing with because this, brand new team this year. Well, not brand new, but a new team. But they need him on defense. I mean, that team has got problems. I'm not sure what it is. Obviously, offensively, they've taken a nosedive in the last 5 games. They need to get that back in order. But their defense has gone with it. And they're just right now a team that's in real turmoil, I feel. And Ottawa's a team that is on the cusp. They're trying to figure out how good are we. They're 7-2 and 7-2-1 and getting ready here for, where they play the Eastern teams twice each. They play Montreal twice, Toronto twice, Hamilton twice more. So this is their run to see what are they really. And Drew Brown, is he really that guy? And he's shown fantastic and. Throwing for 400 coming off the injury was very impressive. They have some injury issues. Ackland's going to be out for a bit. They've got Javon Santos Knox going to be out. But I love Davion Taylor, a new guy who's going to play Mike linebacker for them. He was a 3rd-round draft pick of the Eagles. He runs so well. He's fast to the ball. So it's going to be fun to watch him, but he hasn't played much at Mike linebacker. That's going to be a little bit of an issue for Ottawa. But, it's just Amar Doman goes and gives up a home game where he's been drawing 25,000, 30,000 to put 13,000 to 15,000 or whatever it's going to be in Victoria to help grow the game. And that's a great thing. I mean, it's great that Amar is doing for this league what he's doing. Like I say, he went out and got Matthew Betts. They're hosting the Grey Cup. There is going to be no stone left unturned. There's going to be no excuse for them not to make it because they, like I say, the salary cap has kind of gone by the wayside in the CFL. And you know what? You have rich owners. You can do that kind of thing. There's going to come a point when one team's going to be in trouble. And again, this league is gate driven. It's about winning. And only one team can win each game usually. There's a ties, but for the most part, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to get people the next game, somebody's not. And Amar is making sure that it doesn't matter. He's going to pay what he has to pay to get the right guys on the field. And again, there's no rules being broken. The salary cap is a luxury tax type of salary cap. So you want to pay the luxury tax, whatever it happens to be. I thought Farhan Lalji had a great point. Even if they go 200,000 over and lose a draft pick, what does it matter? They're going to trade Vernon Adams and get a first-round draft pick back for him. So I don't think there's any deterrent there. Again, the league now is as strong as it's ever been because of ownership. And obviously, at this point, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years, because I was there when the owners couldn't help themselves and they had to put a cap on them. We had no cap prior to 2006. And it was like they had to put a cap on themselves because they couldn't control themselves, and teams were having trouble meeting their budgets and that type of thing. So they put salary caps on everything. First the players, then in a CBA they put it on coaches. Which again, I still think they need to go back and revisit that. Coaches, it's different. Players have a pension plan. Coaches don't. Coaches don't have a pension plan. So you go and put a cap on them, two things happen. One is young guys. I have 4 guys I had work in the front office for me in Toronto that are now in the NFL. Chris Rossetti's very high up with the Giants. You got Curtis Ruckavina and Vince Magri with the Bills. And Matt Houston is with the New York Jets. All young Canadian guys that basically worked for very, very little, but because of the number thing now, it would be very difficult to hire guys like that and allow them to get a start. And again, I just think the whole thing on numbers and the cap they put on coaches, because coaches, when they lose their jobs, they're done, basically. I mean, it's tough to, you can get recycled, but that's what you become, is recycled, and you have no pension. And I think the league needs to revisit that. They did it to get this whole salary cap thing passed, but now with promotional money, there is no cap. So to be nice, be good to the coaches and the front office, and take the chains off. Let people grow and let the CFL become that great learning ground. If guys want to move on, but also training our own guys to be able to, and women, to be able to run teams. I think I just think that's a vital part of one of the things that I hope changes now that ownership in the league is as strong as it's ever been, because there's money there.
I want to talk about the promo money and the marketing money because the fans want to talk about it. And my first thought is, why do the fans care? If we're getting better players in the league and the players are making more money and the product on the field is better and the games are better, isn't that what we all want? Everybody to have success and the league to be healthier. But at the same time, too, this isn't new. There's been money going in promo and marketing money in the league for a while. And I remember terms like, no,
that's not true.
No? Okay.
The promotional money didn't start until 2022.
But maybe not in that language. So maybe you can explain how it was back in the, because we used to hear the stories in Saskatchewan, for example, of players coming and getting, a job at Sask Power or a job at Dairy Queen in the off season and things. How did it work back then?
Well, that's how it worked. I mean, they would get them jobs in the community and things like that, but they were jobs from outside sources. Now, a team, it's totally different. I can remember back in 2006 when Ted Hellard was the one who basically started this whole cap thing, because the league needed it. Calgary was in trouble. Teams were in trouble, and they couldn't afford to be bidding for play. They needed to put a cap on it. So I think it was about 2008, they said, you know what, we're not going to count housing because it costs more to live in Toronto than it does to live in Regina. So we're not going to count that on the cap. So, of course, my orders were go redo everybody's contract so they max out housing that doesn't go on the cap, and we can get more, give more to the players, which I did. It lasted 1 year, and then they said, okay, we can't do that because all people did was go and max that out. This happened in 2022 when I was working with the Argos, and it just shocked me. I was just sitting there one day, and Vince Magri said, yeah, we'll give him $5,000 of this new promotional money thing. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, we can give promotional money. We're not supposed to give that much, but there's no cap on it. And I said, what? There's no cap on it? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, how long is it going to be before there's 6-figure promotional money? And he said, I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. Well, sure enough, here we are 2 years. Here you go. Hear him? There's
your air show.
That's yeah, that's the air show here. They're rehearsing. I said it's not going to take long before it gets abused. And whether it's, you call it abused or not, I think it's great the league has money to pay players. I'm all for players getting more money. So, again, but you're going to have teams that struggle with that. I know there's not every team. You remember back in teams struggling to make it. They were doing telethons in Saskatchewan. There's been a time when the ownerships haven't been as strong. David Braley owned 2 teams. We had to adhere to that cap very closely. He wanted to make sure that everything was held under control. Now you have new owners who, like I say, there's no shortage of money amongst these owners. That's what makes the league strong, and they can do what they want. So there are not any rules being broken. God bless them for wanting to do what they can do to win. And it's going to be a question of somebody's going to, they're, like I say, they're already into 6-figure promotional money. There's no cap on it. I don't know how much promotional money a team might have. You can say, well, Nathan Rourke is worth $500,000, $1 million. I don't know if you remember back to the Flutie days when when Rickman promised him $1 million, gave him, well, he never got it, but basically they signed him to $1 million contract, and those were back in the days when they had to finally put reins on it, and that's that point's going to happen when somebody's going to give that $1 million promotional bonus to somebody, and then they'll deal with it, and everything's cyclical. It's just Moose. You know this in this league.
It does, and teams still have to make money, right? Teams still have to make money, or at least not be so irresponsible that they can't balance the books or pay the bills. It'll be interesting to see where this.
For a lot of these guys, they make so much money. These are write-offs.
Exactly.
I'm sure with Amar Doman and the I can't pronounce his name in Montreal, but he owns Videotron, and I'm sure these are write-offs. They're not expected, but it's how much can they afford to lose as opposed to OSEG in Ottawa or the Saskatchewan Roughriders or the Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Now the Bombers went over, I think, 25,000 last year or something like that, although there's a lot of questions about it, whether those numbers are actually even accurate, because the league did that. That's another. That's a story for a different day. But the promotional money thing it's going to come to a head at some point. They're going to finally step up to the table. Okay, we can't do this. We've got teams that are spending over $500,000, and some teams are under $50,000 in promotional money. What are we going to do so we can? Because the league is pretty exciting right now, even though. In the West, for the first time ever, no team's over 500. That's never happened at the midway point. To have every team 500 or less, and 3 teams in the East, 3 or 4 over 500. So
it's wild.
It's
and that's
crazy.
Where I want to go next, because we only have a couple minutes left here in the segment. But look, and I shouldn't even say this because the West is so wide open, top to bottom. Anybody can get in. Mm-hmm. But let's say only one of Saskatchewan and Winnipeg will make the playoffs. Which one will make it and why?
Great question. I believe they'll both make it. I'm going to preface it with that. But I'm going to say I would take Winnipeg. And I think these games coming up, that Saskatchewan Winnipeg, it's back-to-back series. You have the Banjo Bowl the following week after Labor Day. If one team wins 2 of those, they're going to be on their way to winning the division. I really believe that. Whichever team wins it, it could win 2. If they split, we're going to be the same place we are right now. But Winnipeg is starting to get back to their physical nature. They still have got issues, but their defense is playing at a high level. But Saskatchewan's defense has played at a high level all year. Saskatchewan has had more injuries, and I think that's been a big problem for them. And then is Trevor Harris at his best and his receiving core going to be good enough to offset, Zach Caleros, that has not been playing up to Zach Caleros level, but playing well enough to win lately. It's just fascinating. That matchup, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. Again, this weekend, I think is, you have Ottawa, BC. One of those teams going to be in big trouble. Either Ottawa loses, and now they're not in big trouble, but they're moving back in the pack.
Looking over their shoulder.
No, now we're right. They're starting to look over at Toronto coming at them, potentially, if they beat Hamilton. But then you got another really interesting game in the West is Calgary, Edmonton. One of those teams is going to come out of this thing moving toward a playoff spot, while the other one is going to be falling out of the playoffs. And that's what this weekend seems to be, is there's teams that are moving into the farther into the playoff. Winnipeg loses to Saskatchewan this week. I think it kind of separates them, and it would not shock me to see Saskatchewan beat them again if Saskatchewan can win the first one at home. But I could also see it the other way, where Winnipeg comes in, bully balls them. Oliveira only ran for 49 yards the first time they play. He comes in and runs for 80, 90, 100 yards, and then they go into Winnipeg and they sweep it. That happens. Now Saskatchewan's looking at, they've lost, 7 in a row, or 6 out of 7, and all those questions that have hampered them for years happen. So the intrigue of these next 2 weeks, oh my goodness, Moose, if you can't get excited about this, I don't know. It's just people who follow the CFL, this is the greatest time right now, and this year probably more than ever, because every single game has huge implications. Toronto beating Hamilton will basically move Hamilton out of the picture, especially if Ottawa was to beat BC. That, like we already talked about, Winnipeg, Sask, and then, like I say, that Calgary Edmonton game. One of those teams is moving up, and one of those teams is moving down, and that's gonna be fascinating.
I can't wait. Enjoy your last weekend off. Enjoy the games.
I am going to. Thanks a lot.
Jim Barker, the CFL on TSN, joining us with a great look ahead to Labor Day weekend and a great chat about all things CFL.